In this demo, I'm going to show you how you can integrate Incorta with Google Sheet, Excel, and Tableau. So let's get started with Google Sheet. Google Sheet is relatively new in terms of integrating with Incorta. And that's why I have 3 different use cases where you can take advantage of integrating Incorta with Google Sheet. I'm going to start with first one here, which is fetch data from web using Google Sheet. Then we'll go over how you can create budget in Incorta and fine-tune that with data coming from Google Sheet. And then last one is design security rules using Google Sheet and honor that security in Incorta. So let's get started with the first one. Let's look at this Wikipedia page. This is a list of all the tall buildings all over the world. And there are multiple tables in this Wikipedia page, right? So what I want to do here is I want to bring in all the data in this table in Incorta. There's another table here, which is again a Wikipedia page, demographics of India. And from here, I want to bring in this data from this table in Incorta. Now, Google Sheet provides a really nice feature where you can just use this function, specify the URL and table number. There can be multiple tables. This is like 5th table in that page. And let's come here and paste this function and then press enter. There you go. Google will fetch all the data from that table from Wikipedia page and show it here. Similarly, I can use this function as well and bring in this data. There you go, right? So this is SH1. By the way, this sheet is in the data folder. I have access to Google Drive. There's a data folder and this is the name of the Google Sheet. Now, next step is I want to bring in these 2 tables in this Google Sheet. These 2 tables in Incorta. So the way you can do that is I have already configured a Google Sheet data source in Incorta. I'm using my user ID and using this data source, you will have access only to this folder, which is data folder, which is shown here, this data folder. Now let's use this to create some tables in Incorta. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and use Schema Wizard. And let's use this Google Sheet data source. And as soon as I connect, it will show me all the Google Sheet which are available in that data folder. I want to use this one, the one I just created. And let's select both the tables here. Click on next, and there's no need to create any join. And as soon as I'm done with this Schema Wizard, I'll see 2 different tables here. Let's go ahead. And of course, using Schema Wizard, I'm not able to specify the table name. It's just picking up the table name from Google Sheet. But of course, you can change the table name by making sure that you have the right table name in this sheet, right? So that's it. Once you're done with this, Incorta will fetch data from Google Sheet, load data here, and then you have access to exactly same data in Incorta as well. Let's go ahead and you can explore this data. It's pretty easy. You'll see that once I drag and drop it here, I have a list of all the buildings. I can also bring in population in India. Click on save. There you go, right? So it's pretty easy to do this. And by the way, this will get updated whenever the data in Wikipedia gets updated, right? Every time you do that, Incorta is going to fetch the latest data. So this is how you can bring in data from web if you have table in the web page, taking advantage of this integration with Google Sheet. Now let's look at another one here. Creating budget in Incorta. Now, let me first introduce you to the data set I'm using for this one. This is a retail data and almost 50 million records. Now, best way to create budget is to use historical data and predict what's coming in future, right? And then fine-tune that using some parameters. So these parameters I'm going to use from Google Sheet and fine-tune my budget based on historical data in the retail data set. So for this, what I've done is I've created a different schema which is a retail budget. And here I have this table, which is budget by store month. This is around 3000 rows. What is this? This will, this is all these columns here. What this gives me is, I'm just summarizing data by store and month, and sales for 2014, total sales for 2015, total sales for 2016, and then I'm doing average of these three and storing it in this column. And then budget here, budget 2017 is a formula column, here, which is just picking in, which is just multiplying it by month sensitivity. For a particular month, if you think that you are going to run some campaign, do some activity, I'm going to multiply that by that sensitivity, so that budget is average of last 3 years, multiply by that factor, right? So this is the month sensitivity, and I fine tune it using here. So for different month, I can have different sensitivity, right? So for example, we know that next year we are going to run some campaign during Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I want to make sure that the budget I want to have for those 2 months is like one with the factor of 1.5 and 1.54. I'm multiplying this by the average of last 3 years of sales and then coming to that value, right? Now let's go back in Incorta and look at this table here, budget table. So this is showing me by store and by month. This is average of last 3 years of sales, and budget for 2017, because in that retail data set I have data from 2014, 15 and 16. So let's assume that 2017 is the next year for which I'm creating the budget. This is just multiply this by the sensitivity factor that you have in this, right? So let's go ahead and do this. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this just to show you. Let's make this, both of them 2 and 2, just double the budget for these 2 months. We are confident we are going to run a really big campaign, making sure we do a lot of sales. So budget should also be double of this. And let's change this to maybe like 1.1 or something. Now keep an eye on month number 10, 11 and 12. Right? This is what it is right now, 10, 11 and 12. Now this is going to change because I have changed the sensitivity in Google Sheet here, right? So this is really good way of sharing this with your business users, where as a developer I can design these complex dashboards, or not dashboards, but complex way of calculating budget. But your business user can make use of certain parameters and then change those parameters to change whatever you want to see here in the budget, right? Now, if I refresh this, keep an eye on 10, 11 and 12 for this store. And by the way, this is going to change for all the stores. There are 3000 rows. I'm summarizing this data from 50 million records, and then after summarizing, this is 3000 records. Now let's keep an eye on 10, 11, 12, 2, 1, 1.2, 1.4. If I refresh this, there you go. This budget for 11 and 12 has almost doubled, right? And so on. So, and this is all driven by what you have here, right? For number 10, it is 1.1. For number 10, 1.1. What's happened with number 10? All right. So this is really useful when you want to fine tune some of these parameters, and then Incorta dashboard will update automatically once the data is refreshed in Incorta from this as well, right? So very useful. So this is just one example of parameters you can define in Google Sheet and then use that in Incorta. And in terms of how we are doing this is, let me show you that. So this is the table where I have all the data about budget, right? This is created using SQL, which is pretty simple and straightforward SQL. This is like by store and month number, give me sum of sales for year 2014, 2015, 2016, and then I'm doing average of those 3 by dividing by 3, right? And then there's a join between these two tables and month sensitivity, right? So anytime I change month sensitivity, I can use in a formula column to multiply by that. This is a formula column here, right? Multiply this by month sensitivity and then calculate budget for 2017. Okay, moving on. Next one here is design security rules using Google Sheet, and then control access to stores in sales dashboard using Google Sheet. So this is a good one, my favorite here. Now let's look at this here. You have sales dashboard on top of this retail data. Okay, we have around 250 stores in all over US, different states shown here. Top stores, you can see the sales by top stores and so on, and all the transactions you have available here, right here. Now let's say you have managers who are managing some of these stores and you want to give access to this data by whatever user ID those managers have to access this dashboard in Incorta, right? For that, you have to define your security rules. Where do you define that? You can define that in Incorta. Now, example here is, let's go to the security rules here. I have user U1 who has access to store 139 and 47. And then I have user U2 who has access to these 4 stores. Okay. Now, if I sign out and sign in, you will see that this is what user U1 and U2 will see. Let's sign out. I already have defined those users in Incorta, user U1 and U2. And security rules for those users are driven by what I have here, right? So let's go back and sign in as user U1. And let's go back to this. Now you see here, user U1 has access to stores in California and Oregon, 147 and 39. 1 store in California and 2 stores in Oregon. And this is what you see here as well, 139 and 47, right? And if I sign out and sign in as user U2, you will notice that user U2 has access to stores which are listed there in that Google Sheet. 39, 47, and 1. Sorry, my bad. I was supposed to sign in as user U2. There you go. These are the 4 stores that user has access to, and exactly same that is listed here, 144, 228, and 232. 4 stores here. Now let's say that we really like what user U2 is doing, and maybe you need to give him access to some stores in Texas as well. So these are some of the stores in Texas, 172, 190, and 32. So all we need to do is come back here and specify those stores here, right? Now, once you specify this here, all you need to do is make sure that once this is updated here, then this data need to be updated in Incorta as well. So there's refresh running in the backend, right? What it does is it will just go and refresh this data, what you see here in Incorta as well. And once that is refreshed, this access to all these stores that this user has will also change once this user sign out and sign in, right? So let's go back and sign in again as user U2, because now what we have done is we have given this user access to 3 more stores. So now 4 plus 3, 7 stores total. So let's sign in, and user should have access to stores in Arizona as well as in Texas. There you go, Arizona and Texas, and these are the new store that this user has access to. All right, so how do we do that? This is pretty straightforward here, and this is where one place where Incorta really shines in terms of defining a row level security in Incorta. And here, this is the dashboard. I've defined the security at the dashboard level. You can do that at the table level as well. Here in this case, this is simple applied filters, which is doing or. If user is equal to admin, user admin should have access to all the data. That's what it means. But if there's some other user signing in, then this session variable will have a list of all the store that user has access to, and we are comparing that list with store number here. And only then we filter the data and show data that user has access to. Okay, and how is that session variable getting assigned these values? This is how it's getting assigned. This store access dot store. The store access is a table which is exactly same as this table here. And this table in Google Sheet is synced with table store access table in Incorta. See, 2 fields here, 2 fields there, right? And based on the user who signs in, we just filter all the stores here. All right, moving on, let's do the next one, which is next one here is Excel use case. Now we are going to share aggregated data with business user using Incorta view. Now Excel users are really good at analyzing data using Excel. They can do wonders using Excel. Now there are multiple ways you can share this data set with Excel users, your business users. Now you have 50 million records. You have option to share this with your business user using Excel, but problem here is if they start downloading data from this table, which is joined to other dimensions, they will end up downloading more than 1 million records, which is not supported in Excel. Excel has a limit of 1 million records. So I will not recommend you to do that. And then you may also want to apply some security that this particular group should have access to data for a particular category or particular department, and other group should have access to some other department, and so on, or maybe stores. So you can define all those complex security rules as well to secure that data by different business groups, by different users. So there are 2 things we can do in Incorta first before sharing this data with Excel user. Now in Incorta, we have introduced a new feature recently, which is Incorta view using analyzer. So what this Incorta view does is, it's going to bring in data for 2016 for the state of Arizona, right? So let me click on edit. This is how I've created this. Edit in analyzer. So you can create an Incorta view, aggregated Incorta view, where I'm aggregated data by store, date, quarter number, category, and department, and then showing sales and cost by this. This is the aggregated table. And since this is only for 2016, so I can filter data by year 2016, and also I'm bringing only all the store data for state of Arizona. And then this is another filter which, based on user, what data you want to expose. For example, user U1 should have access to only category food, because that's what this business user cares about, all the items which are part of category food. So this user will only see data for category food, right? Now this is all these things we have defined in Incorta, all these business rules, all this aggregated data, which is coming from like 10, 15, 20 tables, in this case 5 or 6 tables. Now let's use this with Excel, right? So I'll show you 2 scenarios. I'll sign in as admin and show you that I have access to all the categories, right? And then we'll sign in as user U1, where you will see that there is a restriction in terms of what user can see. So let's do that. So once you download Excel add-in and install it in your Windows laptop, you will see Incorta menu here. And then all you need to do is specify user ID and password. In this case, already specified the URL that I need to connect to, tenant name, and let's sign in as admin user. Just want to show you the security as well, because admin user has access to all the schema and business schema. Now business schema we are going to focus on is this one here, retail Excel demo, right? So once you select that, this will show me here, and here I can bring in all the columns. select all the columns, right? And then since this has around hundreds of thousands of records, maybe I just want to bring in data for a particular quarter. So I can select one quarter here. Let's bring in data for this quarter. And let's click on refresh. So now this is going to bring in data for a particular quarter and show me here, right? And I can see here that this user has access to all the categories: food, non-food, medical, and so on. And now if I do the same thing using other user, let's sign in as user U1. Okay, let's connect. And now this is good, right? So this user has, when they sign in, they will only see business schema that user has access to, unlike this admin user who can see all the schema and business schema, right? So you can control what this business user has access to. So you can give one or more views that user can access, select that. And you will notice here, let me just here select everything. And for quarter, let me bring this here. So I don't want to bring in a lot of data here because Incorta, I have to download that data locally, right? So click on refresh. There you go. So this user will fetch data only for category food. Now let me show you one more cool feature here with Incorta, which is, let's analyze this using pivot table. And I want to make sure that in pivot table, there's a setting. I don't want to do row total. Okay, it's not there. So now you can pick and choose what you want to do. So I want to show cost and sales by quarter and department. I can select category as well, but you will notice here that this user has access to only one category, which is food. So it doesn't matter, right? So I can remove this. Now let's refresh it. There you go. So here you can see that for different quarters and different department, you can see this. Now if I want to drill down and see all the transactions behind this cell, all I need to do is double click on this, and Incorta is going to connect to, Excel is going to connect to Incorta again and bring in all the records for that cell which make up that total. Pretty cool. All right. So last one here is, I don't know how that came. Okay. Last one here is, let's show you how you can integrate with Tableau. Now with Tableau, you don't have that restriction that you have with Excel or Google Sheet or other tools, right? You can just give access to the user this whole schema, retail_s, and then let user slice and dice this data, right? Now either you can give access to this schema, or you can create a business schema and create a view which is all these columns. If I click on explore data here and drag and drop these columns, these are like 25 different columns coming from 5 or 6 different tables. And you can see the query plan also here, right? Now it's not that Incorta is materializing this data in one table. You can have like 15-20 tables, all those joins in place, and this business view will show you data from all of those tables. Now for Tableau, this view will appear as one table. So when I connect Tableau to Incorta and look at that business view, so this is _B. So here I have this table. So I can just drag and drop this here. Update now to preview the data, and then from here I can start doing that. So let me show you example here. So for example, I have store name, and let's see count of transactions in each store. So for that I just need to bring in this count here. So this is showing you number of transactions in each store. I can do grand total also here, And you will notice that there are like 50 million transactions here. And then of course you can do all sort of analysis. So for example, I can bring in state name, where is store state, and then by that I can do sales and maybe show this in map. So now Incorta can, Tableau can connect to Incorta, just access that business view, and then take advantage of the high performance that you get with that. Just make sure that you have defined this base table. This is really important. Store sales. This is the driving table. This is kind of a transaction table or fact table from which arrow is going away from the table when you look at the joins and so on. Otherwise you may have issues with Tableau. All right, that's all.